Hey, good morning, good morning. It is a Monday, and I am ready to go. I'm not going to lie. I am fully caffeinated. This is your most honest, unbiased morning show. You're not going to hear about Mike McCarthy getting fired every 10 minutes on this show. You are here for Super Bowl week, and I am here for Super Bowl week. Let's get right into it real quick. Alvin Kamara, if you didn't hear it, played in the Pro Bowl, got arrested after for an incident that happened Saturday night. He was in jail last night. I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I don't know what the hell did happen. I can guess. Somebody was a wise ass and he punched him, and next thing you know, he's in jail, but that's just a guess. Let me see here. The Dolphins have a new coach. He's Mike Macdonald. Seventh best offense is what he ran for the San Francisco 49ers. He considers himself multiracial. So he, along with Saleh, along with Tomlin, and I'm missing somebody, are now diverse. What am I looking for without getting in trouble? Diverse. I got to be so careful with what I say. Diverse head coaches in the NFL. Like, you can't mess a word up or you get crushed. Speaking of that, interesting stuff from the NFL. Very interesting, and I want to get into it. The NFL has decided that because of the Brian Flores lawsuit, now I want you to listen to this. Because of the Brian Flores lawsuit, they are now doubling down on their efforts of diversity. Now, this is only the 1,000th time that the NFL has made a big deal about diversity. And it's interesting to me how one guy with one lawsuit, now I know it's a civil suit, but I haven't seen where anybody else has signed up. One guy with one lawsuit can make Roger Goodell say the results of NFL's coaching diversity efforts unacceptable. All right, now I want you to listen to this. What happens if the way the NFL hired actually worked? What happens if they investigate? Because this is Brian Flores' attorneys are saying. He's not saying it worked. But what Brian Flores' attorneys are saying, and I'll read it to you, they're saying, hey, look, this is another one of these puff pieces. This is another one of these propagandas. Well, what happens, and follow me here before you call me names, what happens if they investigate all these teams, and these teams say, look, this is when we interviewed so-and-so. This is how the interview went. Here's our notes. We didn't think this guy fit. We thought that guy fit. Here's what people don't understand. People look at the NFL as this massive, broad business. But what it truly is 32 business entities under the umbrella of the NFL. And it's 32 different cities. Well, if you want to say New York, 31. If you want to say LA, 30. But it's 32 different business entities that all face consequences among their own couple of things, among their own fans and amongst their own city ordinance, amongst their own governments in their cities. So I can't imagine that an NFL team is going to say, you know what, we're going to shut out a particular group. We're going to do this as a sham. They might have done it as a sham, these interviews, as Brian Flores' attorneys allege. But I can't believe that with lawyers and billions of dollars at stake, I cannot believe for a second that these teams don't have their I's dotted and T's crossed. What happens if the NFL, who now is our commitment to diversity, equality, inclusion, and they're saying that the hiring process was, what if it was right? What if John Elway's like, hey, look, man, I don't show up until the second hour of an interview for anybody. I don't give a damn if some guy doesn't like the way my hair is. What if the Giants actually have it in place? I got to imagine they do. Or am I giving the NFL owners too much credit? See, reason I started thinking of this is because Brian Flores' attorneys kind of think the way I am, but in a different way. Brian Flores' attorney said this in response to Roger Goodell saying this is all unacceptable. Here's what his attorney said. The statement made today by the commissioner is on the surface a positive first step. But we all know the on the surface is the only thing that matters in that statement, right? On the surface. But we suspect that this is more of a public relations ploy than real commitment to change. For too many years, the NFL has hidden behind the cover of foundations that were supposed to protect the rights of black players and coaches, as well as law firms and experts that purport to be unbiased and independent, but are paid for by the NFL. All the while, systematic racial bias has festered in the NFL offices. Now, I don't buy that last part, but I don't know. I'm not there, and I'm certainly never interviewed. But what if this is just a ploy by the NFL? And what if somebody, let's say for the sake of argument, Brian Flores' attorneys say, hey, we want to look at the hiring practices. You can always, in a lawsuit, go on television, particularly a racial lawsuit. You can always go on television and talk, and everybody's going to believe you because the media is so chicken shit, they don't know what else to do. But I believe at least it's reasonable to think, wait a second. Could these NFL owners be so stupid, given the climate, that they treat candidates with such disdain that it forces them to go elsewhere? If I were an NFL owner, I would hire whoever the hell I thought was the best hire, first and foremost. But I would adhere by every rule. And frankly, on the surface, me being outside, I'd hire an African-American head coach if things were all equal, simply because I believe in this time of racial divide, I think African-American players look at African-American coaches as mentors. Probably always have. Now it's more pronounced. Now it's more out there. But I got to tell you, I would absolutely abide by whatever rules and regulations there are. That's just me. I'm a rule follower. I screw up, but I'm a rule follower. I think this is fascinating because I think there's a couple things at play here. Number one in this, okay, the NFL, are you posturing? Certainly Brian Flores thinks you're posturing. Number two, did you do things right? Did you 31 or 32 entities, there are 32 entities, do things right? And the third thing would be, hey, look, if I'm Brian Flores' attorneys and I'm looking at this saying, hey, wait, we've had foundations, we've had lawyers, all paid for by the NFL, then hire your own. Get access, dig deep, see what happens. I don't know, but I know this. Given the fact, I don't know however many years, and it's been a while, that this all has been at the forefront. I know damn well if I were owning an NFL team, my ass would be covered. I would be doing this right because I don't want to wake up one morning like Stephen Ross woke up. I have a thing that I violated. I don't want nobody owning me. I don't want anybody owning me. Well, how does people own you? Well, if you do something stupid, like offer to pay Brian Flores to lose, he owns you. You know, in my world of college basketball, how does someone own you? If back in the day, if you paid players, that player, that family owns you. I don't want anybody owning me. So if I were an owner, and they're way smarter than me, I would do this 100% right. Right. And then I'd figure it out and hire the best person. And then if someone came to me, and let's say that I hired a white guy, I'd say, hey, look, here's what I did, here's what I thought, kiss my ass. That's what I would do. Now, if I hired African American, here's what I'd say. Here's what I did, here's what I got, kiss my ass. That's what I would do. I can't imagine these billionaires aren't doing that. We're going to find out, though, and it's going to be interesting. Backpedaling. I'm going backwards if you haven't noticed. Hello, Hugh Jackson. We told you this before. Like, I get what Hugh Jackson's doing or did. I get it. We all get it, right? We all get it. We all understand that Hugh Jackson wanted to be with his buddy, wanted to stand up, wanted to say, hey, look, I was paid to throw games. And then, oh boy, wait a second, what did I say? What did I say? No. Hugh Jackson, no. No. I didn't say that. What I said was, I have, well, I have evidence that points to them doing that. Really? It's a little different, Hugh. It's a little different, Huey. See, Hugh did what a lot of us do. And I don't blame Hugh. Hugh wanted to go have his back of his friend. Hugh saw a cause that he believed in. Hugh saw a friend stepping out. And guess what? He jumped right in. But he didn't think about it. He didn't think about, wait a second, I better word this perfectly. In this society, you better word things perfectly. It's what I just said. If you don't word things perfectly, guess what? This is a bite. It bites out of your ass. A huge bite out of your ass gets taken. Hugh got a big, big bite out of his ass. And I told you this last week when this came out. There's a big difference between Roger Goodell pulling up in his stretch limo, getting out, acting all mad, and a bunch of FBI guys showing up at your door with badges and windbreakers that say FBI on them. You fix games, guess who shows? FBI. You're mad about diverse hires, guess who shows up? Roger Goodell. Big difference. Big. So now Hugh is saying, well, I've got evidence that shows what happened here in Cleveland. Well, you may have to show that. Maybe not to us, but you may have to show that to the FBI to differentiate between, hey, look, I was paid to fix games. Period. All right. Man, did I screw this up? Holy cow. I screwed this entire thing up. I'm sorry, Lauren. Holy crap. All right, let's go to the Pro Bowl, Lauren, because I just screwed up our entire freaking thing. Jeez. All right, here's the deal. Very simple. Let's go to the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is a complete waste of time. I mean, the Pro Bowl is a complete waste of time. Even to former players, the Pro Bowl is a waste of time. Like Deion Sanders yesterday was like, what is this? Like, Deion Sanders is all about the players. Deion Sanders doesn't seem to be one of those guys that is like, well, you know, in my day. He's not that. But so many players yesterday stepped out, former players, and like, this is embarrassing. You know, we used to want to go to the Pro Bowl and show we were the best. We used to want to go to the Pro Bowl, have fun, but I wanted everybody to know prime time was here, and prime is prime. I get that. Hey, look, the best of the best. You know, we still like to see whoever, Scherzer go up against, I don't know, Mike Trout or whoever in the Major League Baseball All-Star game. But the Pro Bowl is going to get a big number. Let me give you the number in terms of listeners. Now, it's not out yet, but this is historically. Like, Duke and North Carolina played last week, all right, or last 2 nights ago. The number on that is like a 3. The number on the Pro Bowl is a 10. The Pro Bowl. That's right. The crap you watched the other day rates about 3 to 4 times higher than what the best college basketball game rates. True story. So when people say nobody watches a Pro Bowl, I kind of think they're full of crap. What I think happens is with the Pro Bowl, I think everybody doesn't want to admit to watching it, but hell, most people bet the over. A lot of people bet passing yards. A lot of people bet MVP. Look, if it has a ball and you can bet it and it's on Sunday, you're going to watch it. Sorry, but you are. So at the end of the day, that's it, man, right there. The Pro Bowl stinks. It was awful. It joins the NHL All-Star Game, and the NBA All-Star Game is the worst of the worst, except the NBA All-Star Game went to the Elam ending, which gives you a point total to hit. It's pretty good. Made it much better. But, man, that was unwatchable, and it's not me saying it. It's not old white guys saying it. It is former players left and right. Look up your former player. I guarantee you he commented last night on how horse bleep the Pro Bowl was, and he wasn't wrong. You want to feel old? You want to feel old? Kyle Pitts played in the Pro Bowl yesterday. Kyle Pitts, tight end, Atlanta Falcons, who's going to be a stud. Kyle Pitts is the first player to play in the Pro Bowl that was born in the 2000s. Like, to a guy like me, the 2000s seemed like a long time ago. The other way. Like, damn, it just turned 2000, didn't it? We were just worried about Y2K. Boil sheets, tear sheets, boil water, get canned goods. Make sure you got enough toilet paper. Oh, wait, that was the pandemic. Holy cow, I'm getting my things wrong. But that was Y2K. Everybody sat there and went, huh? World gonna end here at Y2K, or all the, like, I don't know, are the computers all gonna explode? What are we doing? As we twiddled our thumbs nervously, and then the ball dropped, and it became like, I don't know, 12:05 on Y2K, and we're like, screw it, we're good. But I'm telling you, first guy in the Pro Bowl to be born in the 2000s. All right, here's my problem with Hall of Fames. You ready? This is Dan Dakich. Get the f off my lawn. There is no metric in the world, even though I like the guy, that says Mac Jones is a Pro Bowl quarterback. And when I say there's none, there's none. Zero. There's nothing that says he's a Pro Bowler. Nice rookie year. Pretty good. Pretty good, according to my guy Larry David. But there's no metric in the world that says Mac Jones is a Pro Bowler. Played in the Pro Bowl yesterday, and here's the deal with it. This is where I equate it to Halls of Fame. On Mac Jones's resume, it's going to say Pro Bowl 2021. And that has cachet with the morons that vote for the Hall of Fame. Although I must say, I know a couple of guys that vote for Hall of Fame. I don't think they're morons. I just think the media in general are morons. But anyway, having said that, I'm a big Mac Jones fan. But this is what I've always said, like, how many guys can say they're in the Pro Bowl 2001? Guys that were elected and then got hurt, and then guys that replaced those that got hurt, they're all in there, right? It's a smart move by the players. I want to be in the Pro Bowl. Hey, man, get hurt. Okay. See, I'm a Mac Jones fan. I think Mac Jones is going to be pretty good. I have no idea. I don't know what Mac Jones is really about. I don't know what, who knows? I thought he was good as a rookie. He's in a good situation, it seems like, with Belichick, and away you go. But I don't think there's anything Pro Bowl-ish about him. I don't think there's anything all-star-ish about him. That's not a slide at Mac Jones. I'm telling you, Mac Jones would probably tell you the same thing. And it's not about Mac Jones. It's about what happens at the end of guys' careers. And this is why I've never really looked at numbers when we talk about Halls of Fame. Or I looked at accolades when we've talked about Halls of Fame. I've always looked at, well, how good was the dude? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? When he came up, did you stop? Did you watch? I always thought Willie McCovey, I don't know if you all remember, Willie McCovey and Willie Stargell. When they came up, all right, hold the phone. I got to watch. I mean, I'm not right. I'm an idiot, right? You guys, you got to go by all the metrics and the analytics. Hey, look, Mac Jones gets to put on there that he was a Pro Bowl quarterback 2021. Good for him, man. Good for him. Let me go back to the weekend in review real quick. We'll start it up. Commitment to diversity. I talked about it. What happens if these teams, the 34 of them, 32 of them, were smart enough to do it right? Look, when I'm a part of something, I try to do it right. I screw it up once in a while, but if it's something that big where I could get sued, for billions as an NFL owner, I'm going to do it right. We talked about Hugh Jackson. Man, Hugh, baby. See, Hugh thought he was coming out. Last thing on Hugh. Hugh Jackson thought he was coming out and thought that he was going to be slick, join this, and everybody's going to go, yeah, Hugh. Jimmy Haslam said very simply, Hugh Jackson has never taken any responsibility ever for getting his ass kicked when he was our coach. Jimmy Haslam, I met Hugh Jackson once. I met him at St. Elmo's in Indianapolis. I was with Urban and Pete Thamel. I met him one time. I'm looking you right in the eye. It's your damn fault for hiring Hugh Jackson. I met him. I wouldn't hire him for nothing. A nice guy. Maybe a line coach or whatever the hell he was. No chance he's running my billion-dollar football operation. Zero. But I digress. Nobody seems to be watching the Olympics. Now, people are saying it's because of China. People are saying that, well, the concentration camps, the genocide is the reason people aren't watching. And I think that's actually true. I think that there has been enough made that people are turned off. I'm not going to lie to you. When I was a kid, I didn't know the politics of any country. All I knew is Franz Klammer was going to go down a slope. Peggy Fleming or Dorothy Hamill or Nadia Comaneci in the summertime. Or Mary Lou Retton, who, by the way, when I was in college, we're roughly the same age. I wrote her a letter inviting her to come to an IU game, hang out with us. Never responded. Different story. I don't know that that's the only reason. I also think that the Olympics are packaged. I also think that the Olympics are dull. I think there's a section of our world that really gets into downhill skiing, but now you've got 8 million different things. Back in the day when the Olympics were popular, you knew, hey, look, the figure skating freestyle was a big deal, the downhill. Now I don't even know what half these things are. There's a ton of reasons why the Olympics aren't being watched. There is. China certainly being involved is one of them. There's no question about it. I don't know two athletes. The buildup for athletes going into the Olympics was nil. It really was. I guess there's a figure skater. I don't even know. I don't even care. Like I used to, and I'm going back not very far, I used to be like, hey man, I want to watch some of this. Now you got every sport that like 10 people know about. Get woke, go broke is what Clay Travis says. I don't know, but it seems like the Olympics got themselves some woke. I have no interest, like none, zero, zip. Couldn't wait. Even, going back a few years, my mother-in-law loved the figure skating, so I'd sit down and watch the figure skating. I got nothing for these Olympics, and it isn't all China. There's a lot of things involved there. I mean, a lot. All right. I'm starting to like Frank Vogel. I always liked Frank Vogel, the head coach of the Lakers. Frank was coach over here at Indiana for the Pacers. Always liked him. Frank got a great gig. Frank's starting to show some, as Raph would say, onions. I love the fact that Frank's benching Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has always been good enough. Say it with me, people that watch my show, listen to my show. Good enough to get your ass fired. Good enough to get you fired. What does that mean? That means you lose big games. You lose big games, and you're out there playing, and the AD's like, what are you talking about? How can we lose? We got Russell Westbrook. Yeah, I know. He scored 27. He had 16 rebounds. How do we lose? Russell Westbrook made 5 defensive errors. Russell Westbrook took 4 bad shots at the end. And you know what happens then? The owner doesn't want to believe you. What does the owner do, or the AD? Fires your ass. And Sean Black, Jimmy, Joe to the C, Dave Carell, you guys that are on the YouTube chat, you know what I'm talking about. Good enough to get you fired is big, really big. And you know what Frank Vogel's doing? He's saying, I know your act, Russell Westbrook. I know what you got, baby. Come here, baby. Sit with me, because your ass gets people fired. Seriously. And I love it that he's doing it. And by the way, LeBron comes back from like a knee injury that everybody's saying, well, he's got swept. Then he drops a triple-double. I hate it because I love MJ and I love Abdul-Jabbar. I'm starting to think LeBron's the best ever. Son of a biscuit maker. I don't want to believe that. Urban Meyer at 10. Big Fat Joe West. I love Big Fat Joe West. Country Joe West. Country Joe West is an umpire that you recognize, which isn't a great thing. There are a couple umpires you recognize. One is Angel Hernandez and one is Country Joe West. Country Joe West retired from Major League Baseball. He umpired 5,460 games. Country Joe set a record for regular season games. Country Joe, along with a bunch of guys, is retiring because they've had enough. The guys are retiring from the NFL. They're not retiring for the reason you think. And guys aren't retiring from Major League Baseball from the reasons you think. But anyway, whatever. Country Joe pissed you off. Country Joe made you mad. Country Joe talked back. Country Joe always looked like he was kind of in charge but also disgusted to be here. I loved when he did a game because there was always fireworks. I got a lot of people that miss me doing games on ESPN, and one of the reasons they miss me is because there's always going to be something interesting done. I didn't mean to do it. I'm sure Country Joe didn't mean to do it. But we're kindred spirits, me and Country Joe. You knew some shit was flying when Country Joe was going out, and then he was looking at you, and then he was all mean. If these umpires were so tough, they'd be players. But I love it. Country Joe, baby. He gone. Happy retirement. 69 years old. He'll have a great life. He has had a great life. But it's worth noting, that man umpired more than anybody in the history of Major League Baseball. He started in 1976. Very, very, very well done. Because he pissed enough people off. He did it his way. And I'm all in on that. Speaking of my way, when we come back, I have got for you, ladies and gentlemen, I do. I got for you, you're not going to believe what I got for you. I got my Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP coming up. I want to hear yours. Go to our YouTube chat. The chat is pumping, baby. Twitter, I don't know what the hell's going on with Twitter. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Twitter. But I do know this. We're here, we're loud, we're proud, we're opinionated, and we're fearless, and we ain't going nowhere. We'll be right back. Well, we don't have we don't have Twitter today, so my guys on YouTube, my gals on YouTube are hitting it pretty hard, and I love it. Welcome. If you are joining us for the first time, maybe you saw on Twitter that we're here only on YouTube today, and you usually catch us on YouTube. I am Dan Dakich. It is the only morning show that doesn't fire Mike McCarthy every freaking morning. That's right. All right, it is that time of year again. It is the time of year where awards are given out, and frankly, I'm good with it, but sometimes I think that awards get given out too early. It's not too early to give awards out right now, although I would make the argument that awards shouldn't be given out until the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, And the playoffs and the Super Bowl should count in the awards. I'm just saying, that's the way I look at it. I might be wrong, but I think every game should count. You know, in basketball, this used to drive me nuts. They would send me the Wooden Award, pick your Wooden Award winner like now. And I'd be like, that's stupid. We got the biggest games of the year coming up. You want to win the league? You know, you're Illinois, go to Purdue tomorrow night and win. You want to win the league? You're Purdue, beat Illinois. It's a huge game. Drives me nuts. It's like the McDonald's All-American game is picked by the summer before. It's stupid. But I will go along with it because, frankly, I'm a go-along kind of guy. Now, let's look. We're going to start from the biggest one. The biggest award is the most valuable player. The most valuable player is different in a lot of ways, but I don't think there is any question this year that Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable player. Look, would I have loved to add it to my case by seeing Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl or at least win a playoff game? Of course I would. But the dude went 13-4. Now let me say that again. The man went 13-4. And not only did he go 13-4 and get, the number one seed, but he was incredible down the stretch. And frankly, I'm not really all that interested. Well, I am, but I'm not all that interested in what you do early. Let me go through some numbers with you that, in my way of thinking, mean Rodgers is the MVP. Do I think he's going to win it? I'm not sure. The whole vaccine stuff, Tom Brady's retirement, a parting gift for Tom Brady, maybe. All right, the last 4 games of the season, Aaron Rodgers threw 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Let me say that again. Last 4 games of the season, when it really came time to winning games, getting into playoffs, getting a number one seed, Aaron Rodgers threw 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers never, listen to this, and take this for whatever it's worth. Aaron Rodgers never had a quarterback rating in those last 4 games of below 115, 114.8. Now look, football has morphed into a quarterback deal, and there's no question about it. I mean, there's no question. And Rodgers went 37-4. What does that mean? Well, it means he threw 37 touchdown passes and only 4 interceptions in an entire season. Look, I'm not trying to tell you it's the greatest season in the history of football, but nobody had a better one this year. Get over the whole deal that, well, Aaron Rodgers lied to us about being vaccinated. No, he didn't. You asked, he told you. Well, his apology wasn't right. Nobody's apology is right. In the history of modern world social media, there is nobody that will ever, has ever, and can ever give an apology that's right. Well, he didn't apologize. Good. Maybe, just maybe, I know this is nuts, but maybe, just maybe, Aaron Rodgers told you the truth, believed what he said, and things aren't always as they seem to you. Oh, my God, let me clear my throat. Seriously. Things aren't always what they seem. But we got to make them always what they seem, because if you guys think it and Twitter believes it, then there's no coming back from it, and it's insanity to me. All right? So Aaron Rodgers, and this is something I grappled with a bit, but I'm going to do what most media folks do. I'm going to separate the whole most valuable from player of the year. I'm going to kind of do that, if you don't mind. All right. So the most valuable player is Aaron Rodgers. Valuable is the guy that directs everything. When you watch Aaron Rodgers, he drinks a scotch in one hand, puts his hands in here, drops the scotch, throws a pass, picks up the scotch, walks back. The offensive player of the year, however, is not Aaron Rodgers. And this is where I get into a deal where I'm not sure about myself. I'm not happy with myself because I'm being a little bit, what's the right word, hypocritical here, but I got to give him an award. Like, to me, Cooper Kupp is Offensive Player of the Year. Somebody asked me, all right, Dan, Jonathan Taylor traded straight up for Cooper Kupp. Jonathan Taylor's our guy in Indy. Jonathan Taylor is our running back. He is, I think, other than Derrick Henry, or maybe with Derrick Henry, the best running back in the league. Would you rather have Jonathan Taylor or would you rather have Cooper Kupp? Now, my thing has always been, I'll take wide receivers today, tomorrow, the next day, the day after, 6 days from then. I will take Cooper Kupp always over Jonathan Taylor. Blasphemy, I know, right here in the great city of Indianapolis. But I don't care. I've blasphemed it before in Indianapolis. Both are great. Hey, you want them both. Don't get me wrong. Saying I'm taking Cooper Kupp over Jonathan Taylor isn't like, you know, I'm being some ridiculous idiot or slurring or slanting or whatever, dissing Jonathan Taylor. Far from it. Non-quarterback division, there may be nobody I would take over Jonathan Taylor other than Cooper Kupp. But Cooper Kupp is a difference maker times 10. You know, and it is his numbers. 145 receptions, 13 yards per reception, 1,900 yards, over 1,900 yards. I mean, let's be honest, 16 touchdowns. The closest guy on his own team in terms of touchdowns is 6. I'm going to say that again. The closest guy on his own team, a team that is good enough to go to and be the favorite in the Super Bowl, is Van Jefferson with 6. No running back has more than 2. I lied. I totally lied. No running back has more than 5. Cooper Kupp has 16. Now, I asked Urban this, and I'm going to ask him again. How in the hell does Cooper Kupp get so open every time? I don't have the answer. But I'll take Cooper Kupp over Jonathan Taylor. I'll take Cooper Kupp over Jonathan Taylor today, tomorrow, or the next day. I love Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is one of the most coachable, nice guys in the history of the world, and he can really, really play. Like, really play. But don't at me, people. Like, I get it. A lot of people went out and they watched Hard Knocks. And they said, man, God, I love Jonathan Taylor. And you know what I said? God, I love Jonathan Taylor. You know what I mean? I mean, I do. I love Jonathan Taylor. But I ain't trading Cooper Kupp for anybody, or excuse me, I'm trading everybody for Cooper Kupp except a quarterback that's great. I'd trade the Colts quarterbacks. You can have every one of them. You can have Wentz. You can have Sam Ehlinger. You can have Hundley. You can have whoever you want. You can have anybody. But I'm taking Cooper Kupp. Would you trade Cooper Kupp for Jonathan Taylor? Hell yes. Now, let me go into something else with Cooper Kupp. You know what I like about Cooper Kupp? And I actually like it. I actually like this for Jonathan Taylor. You know what they don't do? They don't go out of bounds. They don't go out of bounds. They go for extra yards. They Walter Payton it. Those of us that are 110 years old, we remember Walter Payton used to reach out. Used to reach out and say, wait a second here. I got to get an extra yard. Instead of going out of bounds, he turns in. Jonathan Taylor does the same thing. Jonathan Taylor does the exact same thing. And I dig them both. I dig them. Like, I look at them and you know what? Man, oh man. Give me either one, but I'll take Cooper Kupp today, tomorrow, the next day. All right. That's the Offensive Player of the Year. And again, I'm a bit of a conscientious objector against myself. I don't know the numbers. I have no idea the numbers. And I'm going to get the numbers, okay? But my Defensive Player of the Year is Aaron Donald. Now, I'm going to tell you why. I know Micah Parsons great, and I know all that. Okay, I know that different guys are great. I know you got to have. In my world, in just Danny D world of football, one thing I have learned from talking to people that are really smart relative to football is you got to have a pass rush. A great defensive lineman that can stuff the run, rush the pass, and here's the most important thing, plays hard every possession, is worth its weight in gold. And any time you talk to anybody in the NFL, they mention one name and one name only as the best, and it's Aaron Donald. So I did a little look in here. Now, I got to believe that Aaron Donald is double-teamed all the time. Like, I get it, Leonard Floyd is pretty good. I do. I get it, Von Miller came in there. But when I watch games, and I hope they do this in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to ask Urban this, how do you play Aaron Donald? Do you chip? Do you stay? Hey, look, we're taking two guys and we're taking him out. All right? But I looked at his numbers. Even though he's double-teamed, listen to this. Aaron Donald had 12 and a half sacks, even though he's double-teamed. Leonard Floyd, a linebacker, had a 9.5. Leonard Floyd's really good. Like, don't get me wrong. The only time Floyd wasn't any good was when he was with the frickin' Bears and Chuck Pagano was his coach, and that's not fair to Pagano, but he just didn't play well that year. Leonard Floyd caused enough havoc that he cost the opponents 111 yards, the closest on his own team. Again, Floyd had a really good year, 69. Listen to this number, and this is kind of a cool number. 19 tackles for loss. Now, Von Miller had a pretty good year. He had 12. That's where you're at. Forced fumbles. Forced fumbles, he had 4. Now, look. One of the things that the Los Angeles Rams have done is won football games late. Defenses had to step up. It's one thing to force fumbles and get numbers when your team doesn't make the playoffs or your team is no good, because remember, on a basketball team, every basketball team has a leading scorer. Every one. But the truth of the matter is, when you're double-teamed like Aaron Donald every single time, and you still put up these numbers, and that doesn't even factor in the disruption. That doesn't even factor in the hurried throws. That doesn't factor in nothing. So Aaron Donald is my defensive player of the year. Like, I don't know who's second. You can say whoever. Micah Parsons had a great year. Micah Parsons came out of nowhere. Well, he didn't come out of nowhere. He was a highly thought of guy. But I'll tell you what, you give me every single time, you give me Aaron Donald today, tomorrow, the next day. Look, my beloved Indianapolis Colts have done this. They have spent so much capital, draft capital, money, on trying to find one edge rusher. One guy that can go beat guys and get to the quarterback consistently. It's not that easy. There is, as Marby Dog says, no game plan for Donald. There is no game plan. And that's what I want to ask Urban. I think we talked about him a week ago. But as we're getting closer here, as we're moving towards the Super Bowl, and this is Super Bowl week, what do you do with this guy? Because, look, let me back up. Here is what Bill Belichick does on Mondays, according to his one-time defensive coordinator, Rick Venturi. Play the game on Sunday. Monday morning, you have a meeting. The first meeting, the first thing to the defensive or offensive staff is this. We got to stop this guy, whoever this guy is. This guy is not beating us. By the end of Monday, I want to know how we're stopping him. Obviously, it'd be an offensive player if it's the defensive staff. It's the defensive player if it's the offensive staff. If I'm the defensive staff and I'm Belichick, I walk in there, I got to know how we're stopping Cooper Kupp. If I'm walking into my offensive staff, my line coach, my coordinator, I got to know how we're stopping Aaron Donald. It ain't easy, man. And it ain't easy to find them. And when you find them, they're worth their damn weight in gold. You know, I get it. I get it. People want to say nasty things. That's fine. Dan, ever heard of T.J. Watt? I did hear of T.J. Watt. But I don't see T.J. Watt in the Super Bowl this year. I don't see TJ Watt getting ready to play. I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about 5 years ago. Hell, if you're going to ask me, I'll tell you Wally Chambers was great. I'll tell you the People Purple Eaters were great. I'll tell you, you got to go and freaking get, what's his face? You got to go get Deacon Jones. I mean, if we want to go back. But I have heard of him. Absolutely heard of him. Here's a couple responses to would you trade Cup for, or I did it this way. Would you trade Taylor for Cup? Listen to this. Probably not, because Cup's 29. I don't care how old he is. See, in Indianapolis, we're the only NFL team that's on a 10-year plan. Like, if you want to go in and you want to be Brian Flores, you got to say, wait, whoa. Why in the hell is the GM at Indianapolis still there, 42-42? This is Indianapolis right here. Ready? Probably not, because Cup is 29 and will cost a ton. Taylor still has 2 cheap years and won't make but $10 to $12 million in the next contract. It would depend on what other moves were made. Only in Indy. 10-year plan. Indy is on the 10-year Indy plan. We like 10-year plan. The 10-year Indy plan is off the charts. Let's just make it a 10-year plan. Most teams are on like a 2-year plan. Indy's on like hey man, we got a great GM. We haven't made the playoffs. We're a great GM. We got a great coach. Other teams are like, hell yeah, give me Cooper Kupp, figure it out. Well, you know, Dan, in Indy, we've got cap space. Blow it out your ass. I want wins. In Indy, we've got the preacher and the priest. Frank Reich is considered, quote, an elite quarterback by one of my colleagues here at Fox. We made fun of him before I worked for Fox. Now I wouldn't make fun of him. I'm a team player. Speaking of Coach of the Year, there are a lot of candidates. I mean, look, it can't be easy for Sean McVay to have taken all the egos and the stars and molded them. That couldn't have been easy, right? I don't think so. I don't think anybody did a better job, though, than Mike Vrabel. Look, this isn't new. This isn't breaking news. I'm not all of a sudden giving you something like, hey, man, wait a second. Mike Vrabel did a really good job. I'm coming from behind on this. Nobody really knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows Mike Vrabel did a great job. Everybody knows that Mike Vrabel won the AFC, got the number 1 seed in the AFC without his best player. I want you to think about that just for a second. You know, without your best player. Now, does that mean Vrabel's a great coach? Or does that mean when your best player is a running back, it really doesn't matter that much? I don't know. But I know Vrabel went 12-5 with a wide receiver crew, A.J. Brown, hurt most of the year. Julio Jones hurt, ineffective most of the year. And his best offensive player, Derrick Henry, out all of the year, most of the year, 3/4 of the year. And Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let that percolate over you. Let that wash over you. Let that wash. Think about that. Think about the excuses. Think about the excuses that every single place makes about their team. Think about it. Think about everybody's got an excuse. Here in Indy, we say Paris Campbell got hurt. Nobody knows who Paris Campbell is. Urban does. Paris Campbell's hurt all the time. Well, you know, we had a deep threat. It'd be Paris Campbell. You know what I mean? Yeah, it'd be Paris Campbell. He, they lost Derrick Henry. They lost A.J. Brown. They had Nick Westbrook, I forget his third name now, but he was really good at Indiana. He became a valuable receiver. Chester Rogers, Colts cast-off, valuable receiver, scored a touchdown against the Colts and did that T.Y. thing. Or I guess it's T.Y. I'm telling you, everybody's got a damn reason to lose. Everyone. Well, guess what? Mike Vrabel didn't accept any reasons to lose. The morons in Indiana continue to say, no, I wouldn't trade Jonathan Taylor for Cooper Kupp. We're remedial. I'm sorry. We are remedial here in Indiana. We're not quite, we still think in Indiana, we think 20 wins gets IU in the NCAA tournament. We think old Peyton is coming back. I think he's coming back, Peyton is. I do. I think he is. We're out of our freaking minds in Indiana. We're on a 10-year plan in Indiana. Drives me nuts if you can't tell. Every day I try to fight this. Every day I try to say no. We got the dumbest media in Indiana too, but I digress. Anyway, all right. Time for sack up. One of my favorite things about doing this rundown is usually it says Saki up, S-A-K-E up. Little Saki bombs for everyone. I don't know if I want you to sack up or keep going. But if you are going to keep going, SEC football coaches, then let's walk like men. Let's rip some real ass. I talked about this the other day. Like Jimbo Fisher, look, here's the deal, Jimbo Fisher. You're still mad, and it's still percolating, this whole thing where message board folks and other coaches like Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban are basically accusing, and it's not even an accusation. It's just kind of a statement of fact in their minds, not mine, I have no idea, but in their minds that, hey, Texas A&M paid more than anybody, whatever the number is, for their recruiting class. I don't know, and I really don't care. See, my thing is if you did, good for you, Jimbo Fisher. But Jimbo Fisher then got mad. Jimbo Fisher then got mad, and he said, well, this NIL thing has been going on a long time just under the table. Don't go down that avenue with me. If I were at the press conference, I'd said, let's go down that avenue. What are you saying? You saying Saban cheated? And then I'd shut up. Are you saying who cheated? Saban made the comment back to you. Are you saying Saban cheated? Are you saying Kiffin has cheated? He was at Tennessee. Are you saying that people, when you were at Florida, I mean, all this cat and mouse is bullshit. It is. Clown show. The words they use are bullshit. I told you the words they used the other day. Kiss my ass and go F yourself. Those are the words you use. But if I were a reporter, I want to know. Well, don't go down that avenue, Jimbo Fisher said. That's a bullshit term. Come on. All right, Jimbo, let's go. You're the one that brought it up. These guys been cheating. That was a Saban I just did right there. See the hands? They're just out of control. But anyway, you're the guy that brought it up. You're the guy that told us that the NIL, i.e. paying players, has been going on forever. Now it's legal. And you don't want me to go down that road. Sure I do. Go down that road. And then you know what I do? I sit there like Ed O'Neill. You know who Ed O'Neill is? Ed O'Neill is the father on Modern Family. Ed O'Neill is the reporter in Blue Chips, who, when Nick Nolte in Blue Chips spilled his guts, he just laughed and started writing. Writers in media, Jimbo Fisher, want you to go down that avenue, but they're too chicken shit to ask you. If you really watch press conferences, writers don't really want to know. Some do, most don't. And they laugh at every stupid thing that every player and every coach says. I want you SEC coaches to sack the living hell up. Hey, man, you think someone's been cheating? Don't insinuate it. Say it. And if you're going to insinuate it, don't. Don't say nothing. It's literally that simple. Well, you know, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Why? Why? Of course we do. It's a great story. It's headlines. Well, you nuts? Please. Please. I want you down that rabbit hole. I need you down that rabbit hole. And you know what? We can handle the truth. We can handle the truth. That's it. More reaction to would you trade Jonathan Taylor for Cooper Kupp? Why would the Rams do that? It would improve their backfield, but not enough to afford losing Kupp. Bingo. Indiana guy says no. Oh, okay. Depending on who the starting quarterback was for the Colts. Oh, okay. The fact that Indiana folk, Colts people, think that you wouldn't do that means I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of work to do with the good people of Indianapolis in terms of football knowledge. Myself and our afternoon guy have been screaming. Our guy's name's JMV. I go on at noon to 3. He goes on at 3 to 5. We've been screaming for playmakers. He's been screaming for wideouts. I just want playmakers. Same thing. You can't win in the NFL without playmakers. We drafted a guard 6th. He's a generational guard. He's a generational talent. And every slap that writes for in the NFL media says, oh, you got to have him. Yeah, okay. Okay. By the way, once again, and I haven't gotten as political as I need to, but once again, the world owes Allison Williams an apology. There's a new study out. The Oregon Health and Science University did a study on 4,000 women, 3,960, 18 to 45. The study showed that women's menstrual cycles were affected by the vaccine. Yep. Well, guess what? If I were a woman, young woman, and I wanted to have a child, and I did my research, it'd be hard for me to get the vaccine. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying it would be hard. Allison Williams said no, lost a big job at ESPN. I admire the living hell out of her, and the world owes a double-licious an apology. All right, when we come back, Urban Meyer is going to join us. I got a monster hour for you. There's a lot of things going on. The Super Bowl coming up. I want to get into a couple of things. I want to get into fit. What the hell are you talking about? Fit. How do you know a guy fits? How do you know that Matt Stafford's going to fit with this group? How do you fit in Odell Beckham with this group? And building a team. Both these teams, the Rams and the Bengals, have been built well. They've also been built different, way different. I want to talk about that with Urban, but first, I can't lie to you. I got to close this frickin' window in my house. It's like Letterman cold in here. Don't go anywhere. Urban Meyer when we come back. I got to tell you, it's really nice of Urban to join us on Mondays, man. First off, he's the smartest football guy you'll ever hear anywhere. And second, he got a lot of stuff going on. But he's nice enough to take about a half hour with us. And I got to tell you, my friend, I'm appreciative very, very much. So let's get right into it. I know you're swamped. Jags hired Doug Peterson. I assume you've known Peterson. What do you think?
Oh, I got to know him at that Tahoe event, and I've watched his offenses. I think he's an excellent coach, obviously. Trey Burton, one of the guys that played for me in Florida, a guy I'm real close with. We talked about him several years ago. So it's a great hire and offensive mind. I think he's going to do great.
Hey, Urban, how important is it in your mind, the way the NFL is, you haven't been in it, how important is it to have an offensive mind, like a state-of-the-art offensive guy coaching offense?
Oh, it's critical. It's essential. Especially the NFL offenses are a little different than college, but then you look at the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, and those are basically the same offenses we ran. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see who he hires as coordinator, if he's going to coordinate the offense. But I think that's the choice you got to make when you're in the NFL. You see Coach Belichick lost Josh McDaniel. It's going to be real intriguing to see if he just elevates within. That's normally what he does because it's going to be the New England Patriots offense. When you take over an organization, like some of the other new coaches, it's going to depend on who you hire as the offense coordinator and give him autonomy to do it his way.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. So I'm the head coach. All right, I got a defensive coordinator that I'm paying a hell of a lot of money to. I got an offensive coordinator I got a hell of a lot of money to, and I've got the staff all the way down the line, coordinator, offense, everybody under defense. What the hell's a head coach do?
Well, head coach is in college. It's interesting, Dan, that since Steve Spurrier won it in '96, the national championship, and then Jimbo Fisher. I want to say that's the only two coaches that have won a national championship as a primary play caller. And that's I was very involved in play calling. Never was a primary because I always had a Dan Mullen, a Ryan Day, a Tom Herman, but I was very, very involved. But you lose, maybe lose contact with the special teams. And I always felt that was my thing, my way of touching the entire team. In the NFL, it's much different. You have Sean Payton. I mean, you got the two coaches that are going at it in this game. They're play callers, Zach Taylor, and then obviously the coach of the Rams, Sean McVay. So it's much different than I found out. Yeah.
Why are you able to call plays in the pros and not in college? What was the difference that made it, I guess, easier for a head coach to do that?
A lot of times I found out even the head coach doesn't hire the staff, which is absolutely shocking to me. I heard a story. I won't say the staff, but linebacker coach I knew got hired by an organization. He never even met with the head coach. The GM hired him. And basically the defense is its own entity, offense own entity, special team. That's not the way I was used to it. So the way I tried to do it is have a vision of what we wanted on defense. That's why I really admired the Baltimore Ravens defense. I heard Joe Cullen. I really thought he did a good job. Darrell Bevel had experience in the spread, which is what I'm used to, and then also under center stuff, the professional offense with Russell Wilson, and he blew away the interview. So I think the head coach has a vision. And as long, the way I looked at it is the way it's going smoothly, then stay out of it. You're the fundamental coach, you're the culture builder, and you got to really be involved in the roster management.
Okay, so when you're the head coach, I'm really curious about this because you're on the headset, you're hearing both coordinators, you're hearing, and I'm guessing this happened. I'm going to go back more to college than the NFL. Did you ever just, hey, man, no, we're not running that. We're running this.
Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time.
That's what I thought,
when I first started, we would script every series between series. And on defense, I really was not involved. I had excellent coordinators and, I didn't want to get in the way, and we played pretty good defense most of the years. On offense, especially when Dan Mullen was my coordinator, we scripted, we talked, we've been together so long. All right, this series, because every play, the way we did it back with Mullen, is every play was set up. So we'd start in this formation. If it gave us a certain look, we'd go to this. And then I was always the guy, because I'd say, okay, once we get the shot play ready, I'd pull the fast guy. I mean, this is pretty good. I would take, the Devin Smith, the Zeke, my fast player, Percy Harvin. And in my mind, I knew if we got one more first down, we're taking a shot. And I would pull the fast guys off the field. I can say this now because I'm not coaching. I'd pull the fast guys off, and the trainers knew that means hydrate those boys up. Get them Gatorade, get them G2 in them, whatever you got to do, because I'm getting ready to take a shot here in a minute. And once we got that first down, I'd say over the headsets, take the shot. Receivers ran on the field, and everybody knew they were fresh and ready to throw it down the field. So that's kind of how involved. Did
the defensive coordinator on the other side ever go, shot coming, because Harvin was out? You know what I mean? Did anybody catch on to this?
Believe it or not, it took a minute. But we had such good players that
I believe it.
Even if you knew it was coming, it was hard to defend. It had to be the right time. And that's where guys like I just keep going back to Dan Mullen. He was so good. I give the example of because we're doing a little story on it, the Gators against Oklahoma. In the final drive, we run a shovel pass on 3rd and 6 for the first down. And then Dan says over the headset, there's about 2 minutes left in the game. It's, I think, 2nd and 6 on the 6. And he says, Coach, what do you think about the jump pass? And I said, yes, do it. Because that was kind of the signature play. That's going to be the stamp of the national championship. And he did it. So you're bringing back good memories. That was a lot of fun, man.
That jump pass has been duplicated, but when you do it first, it's iconic. You know what I mean?
And people don't realize the first one was in Utah. The first jump pass I've seen was we ran out of tailbacks. I didn't want to run Alex Smith. And we taught our tight end the week before how to do it. We ran power. And then we put in the jump pass. And sure enough, on 3rd overtime, we run it. Guys wide open, score touchdown on national television. And that was the birth of the jump pass.
When you move, you go to the NFL, can you still, do coaches still script? Like, will the Super Bowl, will McVay script the first 10, 12 plays?
I don't want to speak for him because I don't know exactly, but I think everybody does that. I think, and I think he's got we would always call them drive starters. The drive start is so, everybody talks about 3rd down. The drive starter is the amazing thing. I love doing that as an analyst on television, that you watch how many 2nd and short you get. If you are in a game where 2nd and short or 2nd and low medium is a lot, that means 2nd down and 2, 2nd down and 3, 2nd down and 4. If you're in that range a lot, you're about to win a game if you take care of the ball. If you're always in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, God forbid 2nd and 15, the chance you win in the game is almost zero, because that's when turnovers happen. That's when obviously you're not going to get the first down. And easy way to think of it, Dan, is 80, 60, 40, 20. And 80 is 3rd and short. 80% of the time you get the first down. 3rd and medium is 60. 3rd and long medium is 40. And 3rd and long is 20. So what's the objective of offense? Get that bad boy down to 3rd and short and play in the 80% game. Now, it sounds easy, just now you got to execute it.
Did you tell me this, or I can't remember. I think it was you that said, hey, man, the goal is not to get a 3rd down, not to get into third down.
No, not 3rd down and long.
Like,
3rd down and long.
Get 3rd down and long. Yeah, because, look, hey, man, if I get 2nd and 2, then I'm in pretty good shape. Hey, I look at this Super Bowl, and I see 2 teams that you can make the argument are set up differently. I think most people would agree, and I know there's other elements to it, but Burrow and Jamar Chase have changed what's going on in Cincinnati. That was done through the draft. And I think when you look over at the Rams, they made a bold move, getting rid of Goff, bringing in Stafford, and then, of course, bringing in some other guys. I want to get a conversation with you about fit. A guy can be really good, and you had guys that are really good, but they didn't fit. It wasn't a fit. How would you in the NFL know, or do you know, how a guy would fit with a particular team?
Obviously I didn't spend much time there, but my understanding, my studying.
You studied
I
it.
studied it big
You
time.
studied it.
One of my things I love is organizational behavior, and it's all about the people. It's not about what you sell in corporate America. It's about the people selling it. It's in all due respect to this great talent, which the Rams, I call them the All-Star team, but that coach McVay and the organization did an excellent job of fit. How do you make Von Miller and Aaron Donald work together? You've heard horror stories. Right. You watch it, and it turns. So that's not by accident. That coach has done an excellent job of taking these all-stars and making them work together. How do you take a guy that, I met Odell Beckham. I think he's one of the great players. I love him as a guy, and everybody had bad things to say about him. My man's playing for the Super Bowl. Same thing with the Fournette, the running back at the Buccaneers a year ago. All I heard about was how, difficulties, this and that. I'm thinking, wait a minute. My man just got a Super Bowl ring. So it is about the fit. It's about the leadership. It's about the culture within the organization. And that's why, Dan, I'm telling you, man, be careful of those Bengals. Be careful with that. I just been thinking about you. You were part of a national championship in college. I was part of 3 of them. I've watched the basketball team win back-to-back with Billy Donovan. And at some point, talent becomes somewhat equated. It's all about the chemistry of that team and the leadership. And my gosh, that Joe Burrow and that group.
There's an eternal question. Like, does chemistry come from winning, or does winning come from chemistry? What's your take on? Let's take Joe Burrow and his group. From you're not there. I get that, but you know the people involved. How would you equate that question? Winning coming from chemistry, or chemistry coming from winning?
I think it comes from leadership, and then chemistry, then winning. Because there's some great examples, case studies, which I've studied quite a bit, and so have you, I'm sure. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had a decent offense, but they weren't a very good team. And then they get the greatest of all time to walk in that organization, and everything changes. Everything changes. They get a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow 2 years ago, I can't remember what the Bengals were. Their record was awful for several years. And they get this Joe Burrow guy, and his first year he gets hurt, he gets beat up. But it takes a minute for a guy like that to take it. And he took over the organization. I don't want to take away from the coach, because the coach did a great job. But don't kid yourself now. That quarterback that stands behind that center, you've seen it for years in New England. You see it in Tampa Bay. You've seen it at the Green Bay Packers. Now you're watching it live and in person at Cincinnati.
You went to Cincinnati. You know Cincinnati. Hell, you've been in the state damn near your whole life. All people did was bitch about Mike Brown and the facilities. All of a sudden, I don't hear a single thing about any facilities. I don't hear a single thing about anybody being cheap. Is that a bit of an example of Joe Burrow not only taking over the team, but taking over the whole damn city?
There's no question. I think everybody knows that. I know Cincinnati very well, and Marv Lewis was a great friend. I think Marv Lewis did a hell of a job. They never won a playoff game, so they got rid of him. And then I heard players talk about because bitching or losing begets bitching. That's what happens. And if you allow that in the locker room, you allow that in your organization, that's what happens. It becomes a cancer. However, if you get a grown, and I used to use the New England Patriots as examples all the time, and Bill Belichick, I would always ask him, say, okay, when do you know you can take a player that's kind of and Belichick used to call him this, a peripheral player, a player that has had a history of discipline issues, chemistry issues, whatever issues, and you bring him into a weak organization, what happens? It blows up. What happens if you take someone that's had some struggles and you put him in the New England Patriots, and you have Mike Vrabel, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Tom Brady, Rodney Harrison, just studs, chemistry guys, culture guys, locker room guys. What happens? That player conforms to the culture. And I was mesmerized by that for 10 years. And I like to think we had some of that success in college because of that.
What do you think, how difficult would it be for a guy like Matt Stafford to, let's be honest, not that 35 or however old is that old. I mean, when you get to our age, you're like, shoot, I'd take that in a second. But you have been in this operation forever. Now you come out to a new place, but it's more than in my opinion, Stafford coming out to a new place, there is an incredible pressure on him with this all-star team. How do you view Matt Stafford, Coach?
Well, if I'm and the coach has obviously done a brilliant job. Somehow, I don't think a player by himself can handle it. I think the coach has somehow got to take the pressure off of that guy. You know, I had Tim Tebow for those years, and I mean, it became, I mean, my gosh, we'd go to a hotel and there'd be 15,000 people waiting for our team as we come rolling in there. On our way out to practice, we had to have police officers just allow us to get to practice because it became that kind of operation. And I would always sit and say, you know, my job is not to motivate. The motivation's over. This team is a highly motivated team, a bunch of war daddies on this team. How do I somehow take the pressure off them to play a game? And there's obviously got to know who that person is. So I would imagine right now, Sean McVay, his motivation's good. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm imagine the pregame speech. You know, I used to tell people in the national championship game, you can walk up there and kind of do 2 cartwheels and go out in the field. It's over. Don't worry about pregame speeches. It's all about how do you take the pressure off this player, but you have to know who this player is. You know, if it's a young, confident player like Joe Burrow, I think that guy, which is amazing to me, as young as he is. But I've had other players now, you can look in their eye and they're like, holy cow, man, there's going to be 40 million people watching this thing. You know, so I'm really intrigued. I'd love to ask them, you know, how, after the game, how did your focus had to be get pressure off these cats?
Yeah, because even though they're adults, even, you know, he's got a wife, kids, a whole deal, it's still, I mean, they're still human beings, right? I mean, they know, he knows that he was brought to Los Angeles to win a Super Bowl, or at least to get to a Super Bowl. And that in itself, I don't give a damn how old you are. That can be daunting, man. But, all right, how would you know, how would you know a guy's a fit there? Like, you know, like, I look at Stafford and I think to myself, man, this dude, maybe he's a fit everywhere. Does that make sense? I mean, some guys, maybe they're just fits no matter where they go.
I learned my lesson over the years. I would talk to I can go back to college recruiting. I actually can go back to the NFL draft we had last year. And we've made great decisions and made some average and actually a couple poor decisions. What I found out is you have a very small circle of trust. For me to call a high school coach I never met before and, hey, tell me about Dan Dakich. What's he going to say? He's the greatest thing in the world, greatest. Right. However, I know Dan Dakich. I'm going to say, let me ask you about whomever, and you're my friend, and I've known you for 25 years. He'll close the door and say, listen, here's what you're getting. And the best people to talk to, when I've never gone wrong, is a former player, especially when you're extremely, you know, because a former player is like a Sunday. And I did that, you know, a guy named KJ Hill played for me at San Diego, or played for me at Ohio State, and he went to San Diego, and we were looking at free agency, and I was getting mixed messages and all this. And I finally said, enough of this nonsense. And I called KJ Hill and I said, hey, brother, I need to know. And he said, Coach, here's what you're getting. I hung up the phone, walked in the GM's office, so we're taking them.
Yeah, I mean, players know, right? I mean, players, people don't understand that, you know. They think, well, we're going to talk, you know, to the high school coach, or we're going to, no, players know. Didn't you tell me one time, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, didn't you tell me one time, God dang it, somebody drafted a bunch of your players, but the organization never called you? Did they always call you? Am I right about that?
The ones I had relationship with, and this is years ago, and they actually took a couple, maybe 3 players, and 2 of them, they shouldn't have went. I mean, they really struggled in selfish and et cetera, good players. And I remember a friend of mine called me after the draft. I never spoke to anyone in the organization and said, isn't that great? My team, he's a fan, my team just took 2 or 3 year players. And I was like, isn't that great? No, it's not great. 2 of those guys were drafted above where they should have been drafted. And they're you better have a strong core, because these 2 aren't leaders now. And obviously that team fell apart quickly.
I had an NBA head coach call me after an NBA draft and tell me, man, Dan, they took one of our players at Indiana. And he said, we got the best defensive player in the country, didn't we? He was the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten. And I told him, I said, he can't guard the floor. He can't guard nobody. You just made an incredible mistake. Why didn't anybody call? Like, nobody called me. Nobody called Coach Knight. Kid lasted a year, maybe. You know what I mean? It's sometimes fascinating. That's why I think people assume all this is done, but there's so many stories of it not being done with the people that directly know.
Here's an interesting thing, too, for a viewer to listen, that because of agents, because of social media, and I found this when I was at Florida early in my career. So a guy comes in and asks you about Dan Dakich, and I tell the truth. I say, this guy, if you're great, you're great leader, great this. But I had a couple of players, and I'm like, you got to stay on this guy. I mean, there's just issue after issue after issue with this guy. All of a sudden, that hits the agent. Somehow, the scout tells the agent tells the player and his family's in my office saying, "Why'd you blackball me?" And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And so you got to be, it got to the point where I would have people call me if I didn't know them. I don't want to say I lied to them, but I wasn't going to, why would I got a job to do. My job is to protect the university I'm at and the players I'm at and the recruiting. If all of a sudden I don't trust you and you're going to go start saying, yeah, well, this coach said some bad things about you, you're done. And I've seen that happen.
That happens immediate, doesn't it?
Now it does.
You can get out of that conversation. Yeah, right? When did assistant coaches, like my rule when I was assistant coach was, you're not talking to the media. We have one voice here, Bob Knight's, that kind of thing. And, Bowling Green, hell, I saw you give a speech at a truck stop to 2 people or whatever the hell it was. So it wasn't like, we were inundated. But you gave one. I caught you on C-SPAN or whatever it was, and I'm like, damn. You're talking to some class, and I'm like, this is one of the great speeches forever. What were we, 30, 35? I don't know. And I'm like, this dude. And I looked, and there was like 3 people at the speech. And I'm like, this shit's wasted right here. This is Rockney. And some, Anyway, when did all this start that assistant coaches and coaches are, when did all this agent stuff start? Because it has made it difficult to get the truth.
Honestly, that really bothers me. I mean, and I get it. I mean, there's so much money. Back when we were first starting coaching, my first job paid me $6,000. My second one paid me $18,000. And, you didn't get it. There's no money. You were in survival mode. You're making it because you love the players. You love building teams. You love the pureness of the game of college football. And then that changed, boy. Television contracts started popping. And then I remember at Florida early in my tenure, the first time it ever happened, I was going to hire a coach, and sure enough, my phone rings, and it's an agent. He started asking me about country club membership for his coach. I hung up the phone, and I called the coach, and I said, we're going to go in a different direction. And we went in a different direction because I said, I'm not going to deal with this. I want people talking about what recruiting areas you want. What about you're going to be the best fundamental coach in America? You're going to bring value to the staff, not where's your country club going to be. Reality is, that's all part of it now. I mean, reality is what title, what's the salary, why is it not higher? Am I going to be the 3rd highest paid in the conference? Or those are all the questions you could ask now. And I want to say that started about 2007, 8, 9.
I remember Roy Williams calling me when I was assistant at Indiana. He had just gotten to Kansas. He said, hey, he'd been there about, 4 or 5 years. He said, hey, you have an agent? And I was assistant. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, man, I'm trying to hire a coach. And this is like 98. He goes, I got all these coaches that having their agents call me. I go, as assistants? Yeah. That was odd. All right. You like the Bengals. You don't have to make a prediction, but you're saying don't sleep on the Bengals in this game. You like what's going on there.
I know. I love what's going on. I think, and it's really cool. Yeah. That's why I could talk to guys like you forever. Joe Madden became a very close friend when he won the World Series in 2016, and we would just talk and Billy Donovan, obviously, and you've been in that. And what's the difference between winning and losing that game? All due respect, it's not that play call. It's certainly not going to be whatever you say to the team the night before. And all. I'm not. Those all matter. Well, what matters is that that huddle. What is that? Just the videotapes of Tom Brady walking the sideline and talk. as a coach, all due respect to all coaches, whatever the coach says, then all of a sudden Tom Brady walks over. I can tell you, he forgot everything the coach said. He's going to look eye to eye with Tom Brady. When I had Tim Tebow, we had a lot of temptation to go no huddle and go fast. And because everybody started doing that, I refused to do it. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it, it was because I had to know Tim Tebow was going to look that tailback in the eye or the offensive line in the eye before the biggest snap of the game, because that's going to be the inspiration to get that guy to do something superhuman. You know, it's not the play call. It's not the coach calling the play. It's the people executing the play. And because you're going to need some superhuman efforts to win the Super Bowl. And how's that happen? To me, that's Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford walking in that huddle and looking those boys in the eye and say, hey, man, I got you now. Let's go. We need you right now to make this play. And I can't wait to watch it.
I got to ask you this. In basketball, I would look at guys in the huddle and know that a guy couldn't make a shot at a big time. So you'd call a play for somebody else. And people might say, well, why the hell didn't he get the ball? I go, well, you know, you wouldn't say. But I try to tell people all the time, the eyes tell the frickin' story, do they not?
Yeah, I tell you the story against the team up north in the double overtime game. Analytics said, go kick the field goal. We're down by 3, double overtime. And analytics, everything says kick the field goal. And it's 4th down and that far. And the kicker, the 2 series before, missed a 24-yard field goal. And I saw him in front of, you know, that game's the highest watched game every year in college football. 110,000 people in the stadium. It is cold, nasty, obviously one of the best defenses. And the analytics guy in my ear is saying, kick the field goal. And I'm like, yeah, I just looked this kicker in the eye about 4 minutes ago. He looked at me like, oh, you put me back on that field. So everybody says, what a great call. No, I didn't make that call.
No, I try to tell people that, and they don't get it. It's like, well, you got to go with what it says. No, the eyes freaking tell you. The eyes tell you, even when you're assistants in basketball, you're looking at him and he's saying something like, no, you don't really believe that. Get the hell out of my face. You know what I mean? I mean, it tells you that's why in college, how important was it for you on a recruit? And I'm sorry I'm keeping you long, but how important was it for you to sit down, look the kid in the eye to see what he was really about?
Well, I did. I came up with something a little bit later, and this really was a Bill Belichickism, and we made something called a competitive tape. You know, the New England Patriots weren't real interested in watching Zeke Elliott run up against an inferior team for 250 yards because that was inferior. That was it skewed your mindset of this player. And so he would watch rivalry game, championship games, every 4th down, every 3rd down, the money downs, the money times. And that's, I got to the point in recruiting, finally, when I think we kind of figured it out a little bit. We made very few mistakes from this point forward. I would discipline myself not to watch a highlight tape. I would discipline myself because it would skew your mind and say, man, that guy ran for 80 yards. And all of a sudden you look, it's against people like me and you, Dan, trying to tackle him. You know, it's no good.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he gets in the big time ball and he's not very good. And so it's really disciplined yourself to say, okay, all I need is 20 plays. Give me every 4th down. Give me every championship, state championship. I want to watch that game. And then I would actually call the coach on 4th down and say, if it's an offensive tackle, coach, you didn't run behind the guy we're looking at. Why? And I put him on the spot. You didn't give the ball to your tailback. You expect me to sign this tailback in the biggest moment of the game? You gave it to some guy that, you know, why didn't you give it to him? And that's just that. I don't think people do that enough.
I remember Bill Parcells. I was hanging with him in 1989 when Anthony Thompson was a runner-up for the Heisman, and we were talking about him. He goes, yeah, he's not a serious runner. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, no, he's not a serious runner. He'll never make it in the NFL. Not a serious runner. And it was part of that, I guess. I don't know. Last thing before I let you go. When you look at a Super Bowl and a national championship game, and you coached in so many of them, what's the day of the game like for you or for the players?
Well,
in a huge game?
Yeah, it's every team's different. You know, you can't cookie cutter a team. Every team's a little different. You know, the 06.
What was it like for you personally?
The first one, I mean, I had a hard time inhaling. You know, I had a hard time because I didn't want to screw it up. My mind has always been, I don't want to screw this up for the players. My gosh.
Yes.
In '08, I felt we had the best team in college football, one of the best in college football history. I got up and I was ready to go attack that thing. And then same thing in 2014. We beat Alabama in the semi, and I felt like we had a better team than Oregon if we could just somehow stop the tempo. But I was very confident going the game. '06, getting ready to play Ohio State, had a hard time inhaling. I certainly didn't eat for about a week, and nervous. And then we end up, it was 41-14, and I never even thought that could happen. But it depends the kind of team you have.
What time would you get to a game? What would you do? Games at 8. What would you do at 4, 3? What kind of?
Well, here's what's different about the NFL. NFL is it's amazing. NFL, everything's regimented in college. You get them up a certain time as a team, eat breakfast as a team, have a team walkthrough as a team. Everything's going on. You load the buses together and you go. In professional football, especially home games, you talk to them Saturday night. Next time you see that group is when they're getting ready to take the field at the game. They drive themselves to the game. They're on their own. Coaches are on their own. A lot of them go home and have dinner with their wife and all that. In college, I used to do bed checks for whatever is 18 years. I did bed checks. Obviously, I didn't do that in professional football. It's just a much different way to go about business.
Hey, man, I know you're swamped. I've kept you too long. I told you 20 minutes has been 35. I apologize.
You're the best.
Thanks, my friend. Have a great day. That's the great Urban Meyer. Love it. Love it. He's so nice to come on here with us on Mondays. I mean, he's got a million things going on. I mean, a million things. All right, I'm going to get us back on track, but I'm fascinated by those kind of conversations. All right, we come back. I got some Super Bowl predictions for you I'm going to run through. I got some college basketball I got to get to. Got some fades for you. We'll be right back. I don't know what to tell you, but Don't At Me delivers every single time, and I cannot thank my friend Urban Meyer for coming on and having a really frank discussion about, basically everything. Thanks for being here. Thank you a lot for being here. I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I mean, what the hell? That's pretty good. All right, let's talk some college hoops. Are you ready? This weekend was the first weekend that college hoops really and truly was at the forefront. I mean, let's be honest. There was no football, so college hoops. We had Duke, we had Carolina, which, by the way, was a rout, and I don't think anybody was surprised. Told you a couple weeks ago, or last week, I guess it was, the first 10 minutes that I saw Duke play against Louisville, that's the best basketball team in the country. That was the best basketball team that I saw in the country. And frankly, they lived up to it all game long at Chapel Hill. Now, I was in North Carolina, and I was, I'm going to tell you, before I get to Trent Frazier, I got to tell you, I was in North Carolina, and it was one of the coolest things. It was one of the absolute coolest things. They're like the friend, like my friends, whenever anything goes wrong, you're too ugly. Coach and I didn't play me, it's too ugly. You get fired, you're too ugly. I mean, even as ridiculous stuff. Like we all went to Catholic school, K through 12. You can imagine what they say about me, the whole deal. It's just, and I laugh about it. Everything that comes out, I'm too ugly. Well, that's what you do with your good friends, and that's what I felt North Carolina and Duke do. Like there were T-shirts, Mount Douchemore, and it had Krzyzewski, Richard Nixon, and I wasn't smart enough. Too ugly for UNC, and it had pictures of players from North Carolina. The Hate eight names of players from Duke that were, that were assholes in the world of North Carolina. Puke, it was great. It was freaking awesome. I loved it. Shout out to Sup Dog and shout out to the Four Corners Grill. Great food both places. Anyway, let's go through a couple of things. Duke beat the hell out of Carolina. There was a big game here in my world. There was a big game here. It was Illinois taking on Indiana, and it was at Assembly Hall. And if you saw it, it was a fantastic environment in Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana. But the truth of the matter is, Illinois came in here and beat the living shit out of Indiana in the second half. I mean, in the second half, they beat the living hell out of Indiana. And there's a kid named Trent Frazier. Now, many people don't know who Trent Frazier is, but Trent Frazier is a first team. I don't know if he's All-American. I'm not going to say he is. But next time you watch Illinois, and it'll be tomorrow night at Purdue, watch Trent Frazier. He is the best defender in the Big Ten. He's the best clutch shooter in the Big Ten. He has been doing this forever in the Big Ten. And when I say doing it, he has been getting buckets, leading teams. He has gone from Brad Underwood's first team, where they started out slow, to now a team that's in the top 10, and I think a real shot at not only the Big Ten title, but a national championship and a Final Four appearance. What they did to Indiana was remarkable in the last 5 minutes. It really, really was. And I loved watching it. I'm an Indiana grad. I'm an Indiana fan. I went to Indiana. I love Indiana. I broke my neck literally. I got bone spurs at Indiana playing. I got to get a hip replacement because I'm all in on Indiana. Indiana people think I hate them. I love Indiana. Love it. But you got to give credit where credit's due, man. And Kofi Cockburn, Trent Frazier, they came into our city, our state, and beat the living shit out of my alma mater. Salute. Hey, the Kentucky win. John Calipari went into Alabama and beat Alabama. Now, you got to understand something. This win was more than a win. Now, to John Calipari, he's reached a status where he has enough money, he has enough of whatever. He doesn't need to win for money, for prestige. It would behoove him to win a national championship, another one at Kentucky. But he doesn't really need it for his legacy. He's considered he's in the Hall of Fame. Let's go that route. But I'm going to tell you this. As with any program of the status of Kentucky, the fans are relentless. John didn't have a great year last year. Kentucky didn't have a great year last year. John personally, maybe he did. I think he signed for $1 billion. But here's what happened at the Big Blue Nation. Kentucky fans all of a sudden started saying, yeah, John's great, but Nate Oates is better. Nate Oates came into Alabama and did really well last year. Nate Oates came into Alabama and got him playing at a tempo. Nate Oates came into Alabama and got them going, got the whole Tuscaloosa area thinking about basketball for at least 6 weeks. And Kentucky fans said, wait a second, Nate Oates is the future, our guy's the past. And that was being heard a lot across Big Blue Nation. And don't think for a second John Calipari, who is by far the smartest coach and the most media-savvy coach in the country, wasn't paying attention. So here comes Kentucky. They come waltzing in to Alabama. It's more than a game. It's more than a win. Kentucky has to back up. Let me go through all of it for you. They had to back up their win the previous week against Kansas. They did with a midweek game against a very mediocre / bad Vanderbilt team. Okay. But now you got a big one. And now you got to go and you got to play a team that everyone knows is dangerous in Alabama. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy Nate Oates is being compared to Calipari. So what does Kentucky do? They do what Kentucky and schools like that have always done. They squash the bug. They squash the upstart. You're the upstart, bam. You're the one crawling on my skin, smack. That's what they did. But that's what Kentucky has always done. That's what I long for back in Indiana. I long for the days where we're going to jump up and squash the bug, whoever the bug is. We may have to be the upstart. But Kentucky, man, oh man, look at this. All of a sudden, I want to make sure I have this right. They have won their last 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9. The only loss was at Auburn. At Auburn, now, they don't get a chance to avenge that loss unless it's in the tournament. Okay, fine. But that win against Alabama was more than a win. And frankly, they got down early and ended up just defending the living hell out of Alabama and beat their ass. Kansas, same thing. You know, there was a time like 13 years in a row where Kansas won the Big 12, I don't know, Big 8, then it became the Big 12. It didn't matter what it was called. Kansas was going to win the league. And I made a comment one time on television that pissed off a lot of the Big 12 coaches. I go, look, there's a lot of money being spent on suits at Tennessee. I'm sorry, not at Tennessee, at Kansas State, at Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. A lot of money being spent. You guys can't win one conference title? Not one? Huh? Well, guess what? Baylor not only won a conference title, Baylor won a national championship. Baylor put themselves on a level where you go, well, hang on now. Hold the phone. This is a little different. This ain't a bug. This is the future. Well, guess what? Guess what happened? So here comes Baylor. Kansas struggled. 80-62 they got beat last week by Kentucky. Oh, man, Kansas. What the hell? You couldn't beat Texas Tech. You couldn't beat Kentucky. You guys just beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Wait a second here. A lot of pride at KU. Bill Self, one hell of a basketball coach. KU bounces back and takes apart. And when I say take apart, let me give you the score, 83-59. That's what Kansas did to Baylor. Now, that's what Kansas is supposed to do to Baylor, in Kansas's mind. Illinois at Purdue tomorrow night. Like, I don't miss doing games, but I miss being at that one. That'd be a good one. Robbie Hummel and Jason Benetti, my two friends, are going to do the game. That's going to be a good one. Mackey's going to be insane. You're going to have, I don't know, decibel levels like of an airplane flying. You know, you got really the three best players in the Big Ten, I think, right now. Kofi Cockburn, Jaden Ivey, and Trent Frazier. I really think those are the three best players. A lot of guys are going well. The Dickerson kid is playing really well, 25 a night now over the last 3 or 4 for Michigan. Hey, look, I get it. You can make a case for everybody. Everybody's got a case. Everybody's great. Dakich, you hate my team, so you're not talking about my player. I don't hate nobody. But I will say this. When you watch this game, the one team that has the size to match Kofi Cockburn individually is Purdue. Zach Edey, big as me, times 10. Travion Williams, big as me, times 5. Huge. So they got two guys in there, and I don't know what Purdue's exactly going to do. They may double the post. They don't mind doing that. They may not double the post because Plummer and Frazier et al. Can really shoot. Cabello can get in the lane. You got to make a decision. But you know what? So does Illinois. So does Illinois. Illinois got to make themselves a decision. What are you doing with this monster Edey? Edey's a monster. 7'5", good, great hands, fantastic. He understands the game. He probably would be a player if he were 6'5". That's how you know a guy can ball or not. You know, there's some big guy, like Shaq couldn't play dead if he was 6'5", but he's big. Doesn't have to be. Edie probably would be a player. Williams is the best passing big man, the other big kid for Purdue. It really is going to be fascinating. I think you're going to enjoy it. Give it a listen. Give it a watch. I think you're really going to enjoy it tomorrow night. I think Purdue will win because it's at home, but that's going to be one hell of an environment. UCLA got upset by Arizona State. Now, I don't know how you guys do this. I want you to listen to this real quick. I'm on a group text that I don't even know the group. This happened. I'm thinking about changing my phone number. I'm on some group text, and I don't even know who's on it. But apparently it's some guy that cannot stand Mick Cronin. It's like 10 people on this group text. I got like 3 group texts and I don't know anybody on it. They send me group texts. Anyway, this guy's all over Mick Cronin. And so they lose, and I wake up at my phone dings at 2 in the morning, and it's this guy saying, oh, Mick Cronin's got to be fired, to 10 people I don't know. Mick Cronin ain't going nowhere. Look, you go on the road, and you're UCLA, and you're not with Bill Walton and everybody else, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Occasionally, you're going to get beat. Bobby Hurley's team played pretty well a week ago against Arizona. Bobby Hurley's the coach at Arizona State. And Bobby Hurley, to me, got his team ready to go against a UCLA team that's really good. But you know what? You get a great crowd going, kids get confident, they start knocking in shots, you lose. Doesn't mean anybody's got to be fired. Doesn't mean jack squat. Are you crazy? I don't know where the hell these group texts come from. I got one guy says I sent something. I looked, I go, I didn't send nothing. I got to get a new phone. I do. I got one filthy group text. Like they send me, I'm like, my wife gets them from Chinese. It's written in Chinese. My wife gets calls from some guy named Bill. I got to get a new phone. Then I asked Mark Packer. Mark Packer's my friend. He's on Sirius XM 84. I go, do you get it? He goes, yeah, I get these group texts all the time. He goes, I respond to them the opposite of the way the group text goes, just for entertainment. I don't respond. But all of a sudden, this Saturday morning or Sunday morning, Mick Cronin's got to be fired. Shut up. Hey, Jay Knivey's still my number 1 pick in the draft. You're going to have all these draft experts. You're going to see all these guys come on, and they're going to say, this guy, that guy, that guy, this guy should be, that guy should be, this guy shouldn't be. I don't care. Here's the deal. Jay Knivey gets from point A to point B and to the rim easier than everyone. And this is the difference. There's no analyst ever going to tell you this, okay? So get ready for it. When Jay Knivey goes to the rim, he makes everybody disappear. What does that mean? Well, there's a legendary Olympic coach and national champion coach named Pete Newell. He told me this one time. He goes, watch great players. When great players go to the rim, they're up in the air laying it in, and there's guys around them, and they don't jump. Jay Knivey does that all the time. Jay Knivey's got the Michael Jordan swoop. He is more like Michael Jordan than any kid that I've seen. Now, I'm not going to say he is because I don't know his mentality. I don't know. The hell do I know? Is he going to be fanatical? Is he going to be a killer? Is he going to work out harder than everyone? Is he going to hire people to do everything so that he can focus? Is he going to be a literal assassin? Don't know. But I know this. I'm betting on Jay Knivey to be a great pro. I'm betting on Jay Knivey. If I have the number 1 pick, I'm taking Jay Knivey. You know what? Like Bob Knight said about Michael Jordan, when the Portland Trailblazers drafted Sam Bowie because they, quote, needed a center. You need a center? Play Michael Jordan at center. You need a center? Play Jay Knivey at center. Are you nuts? All right, I got some fades for you. And I got some don't fades for you. I'm going to take North Carolina Wilmington plus 7.5 against Hofstra. Let me explain this to you. I saw North Carolina Wilmington this weekend. Shout out to Elon Phoenix. Shout out Mike Schrage, the head coach. Shout out everybody involved in Elon. Elon is a great school and a fantastic place to watch a game. My son Andrew's on the staff there. We got there Wednesday. We watched a great win Thursday over North Carolina Wilmington, and then we watched a completely devastating loss. Kid that averaged I think 8 minutes a game, scored 21 in 13 or 15 minutes. Great move by the kid, knocked in a jump shot, buzzer beater. Next thing you know, Elon lost. But we still had a great weekend, and thanks to everybody at Elon. I think North Carolina Wilmington's pretty good. They had 112 in a row. I'm taking them. I'll take the 7.5 at Hofstra. Did you know Hofstra's on Long Island? I did not know this. I do now. I know where Wilmington is. I played there. Saw Kim Basinger in the airport. Those of you that are my age, you know that if you've seen Kim Basinger in an airport, it's a special moment. I am not betting Arizona at Arizona State with Arizona State getting 13. It says here Arizona State is minus 13. I wrote that wrong. It's Arizona State getting 13 at home. I ain't betting it. Here's why I'm not betting it. I think 13's a lot for a home team in a rivalry game. I think that's a lot. But I wouldn't take Arizona State bouncing back after beating UCLA. I would not take that. No way. They just beat UCLA. Great programs can bounce back. Programs that get a win once in a while, they don't bounce back so easy. So I don't think I'm taking the Fighting Bobby Hurleys, even though I love the Fighting Bobby Hurleys. And I don't think I'm taking Arizona because it seems like a lot for a road underdog or road favorite in a rivalry. Oh, check my Twitter account at Dan Dakich if I change my mind. And the last one, look, it's kind of the same thing. Virginia isn't very good. They're not. Duke is very good. Duke is like stupid good. Duke is national champion good. But Duke is giving 11.5 to a team that is trying to hold you to 50. Now, here's the other thing with this. Duke's young players just beat the living hell out of North Carolina. And as I said, I was on Franklin Street Friday, and man, I got to tell you, this was billed as a big-ass game for Carolina. It's 8 miles apart. Duke beat the you-know-what out of them. I don't know. I can see Virginia keeping it within 10 maybe. I could see Duke beating the hell out of them. But I just don't know because of mentality. I like to bet mentality. The mentality of Virginia is going to be to do what Virginia does, play really hard. If the mentality of Duke is what Mike Krzyzewski has had the mentality of Duke being for 50 years, then Duke is a much better team and they'll win by 20. But man, is that hard. See our interview earlier with Urban Meyer to tell you how hard this stuff is. This stuff is a mother. This stuff's mother is a mother. Telling you. So I'm not betting those two. If something happens and it changes, then I'll let you know. I got to thank everybody. Like, you know, we got people to work on this show that are fantastic, and I got to thank them because they're always ready. Like, I want to tell you about Lauren. Lauren right now is our executive head, most wonderful producer in the world. You know where she is right now? She's so good that she's out at Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Do you know what time it is for Lauren at the Super Bowl? Let me look. It's 7:56. That means Lauren's been up already since about 5. She's going to do this nonsense, and then she's going to do all day and then do it again tomorrow with me. Lauren, you're the best. Thanks. We'll hopefully have Twitter up tomorrow. Don't be afraid to share the YouTube. It's the only morning show that you can trust. Don't at me. Dan Dakich. Lauren O'Connor. Bye.